So welcome. I just want to first welcome everybody to our session. I want to introduce our speakers today. We have Miss Amanda Barnes with us. She is a VP Marketing Specialist at Arvest Bank. She has a bachelor's degree in Business Administration from the U of A with 14 years of experience in the banking industry. She's going to give us some insight into careers in marketing, finance, and banking. With us also is Cindy Moore. She's been with Arvest for 21 years, and she's also going to give us some information. So we're excited to have them both here. Go ahead, Amanda.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today. Just to kick us off, just a little bit more about myself. I am originally from Northwest Arkansas. I went to school. I graduated from Prairie Grove High School, 4th through 9th grade. I did attend Greenland School District. And so, just a local Northwest Arkansas. And like was mentioned, I did graduate from the University of Arkansas, so I stayed local for college, and then started working at Arvest after working at a couple of other companies. But just a little bit more about banking. Currently, I am a marketing specialist. When I started at the bank, I started in customer service. Not really knowing, I was interested in working for Arvest because I like numbers, and I just thought banking was interesting. I had a few family members growing up that worked in banking for different jobs, and so that interested me. And so I applied at Arvest kind of with the goal in mind of being in a training program so that I could learn a little bit more about the bank and the software that they use and just processes and procedures. And so that was my goal. I had already finished college, and so my goal was just to, just learn more about the industry. So I started in the customer service area, not necessarily because that was my first interest, but because I went to a few interviews for other positions at Arvest, and the managers that were for those positions called to let me know that, customer service might be a good spot, because I had let them know that I wanted to be in training. And so there, I answered the phone. I helped the customers over the phone with any banking calls that they had. I was able to train on different softwares and things. And so that really helped, I think, in my career pathing here at Arvest, and why I've been able to stay with Arvest for 14 years and do different jobs. And I think that you would find that common with a lot of people that work here at Arvest, is that there are different career pathing opportunities, and you learn a variety of things. So after about 1.5 years of working in the customer service area, I moved to a local branch. Back in my hometown, I found a spot there, kind of is in the branch. So a spot where customers would come in person, but I still was in a back office position. So not a whole lot of customers saw me in person, but I did help them over the phone. But then I also was transitioning into a spot where I helped my teammates over the phone. So I was one of those people that sat kind of in the back, and whenever someone on the teller line or someone opening new accounts had questions, specifically a lot of times about maybe electronic banking questions, or a customer was having trouble with their debit card, because of the training I received in customer service, I was able to help them help their customer more and explain a little bit more of the policies and procedures on those. And so that was a really good fit. And then through transitioning through the bank, there was new opportunities, and I moved into a security specialist role. And I was in that role for 8.5 years and learned a wide variety of things to help customers with things like fraud and protecting themselves, and learning more about, just how to do purchases online and be safe about that. And so there was a lot I learned in those 8.5 years. I didn't do just security during that whole time. because of my other experiences and just conversations with my manager, there were other opportunities for me to take on other duties. And that is initially how I ended up in the marketing role. Um, I do think that through college, I took a few marketing classes, and those were interesting, but I just never really thought that marketing um, would be where I would end up, honestly. It was just one of those things. Maybe I didn't know enough about what jobs were out there and what I could do with something like that. And so, working here at Arvest, I found that. And so, here in marketing, I'm able to give back to my community by volunteering. In the marketing role, we take in sponsorships and donation requests from various places in the community. And so, we're able to talk through things that community groups need, and so we're able to help them out. We do partner a lot with our local schools and help them out with a variety of things. If you go to any of like the football or basketball games at some of our schools, on the scoreboard you'll see the Arvest name on there. That's part of marketing. That's part of our sponsorships and donation area. But then we also, do a lot of advertising. And so when you come into our branch, you'll see posters and flyers and things like that. And that's just part of our advertising. So I'm going to kick it over to Cindy. She has a little bit different view on, in my experience, I've been in a lot of back office positions at Arvest, but her experiences have been different than mine.
Hey, good morning, everyone. So my name is Cindy Moore. I'm a commercial banker here at the West Fork branch of Arvest. I actually currently share my time between West Fork and Farmington. A little bit different from Amanda. I did grow up here in Northwest Arkansas. I went to school at West Fork. And then I took more of a career path rather than a college path. I started at the bank immediately after I graduated high school here at West Fork. And what sparked my interest in banking, I served on the Arvest Junior Bank Board group in high school, which is a group of juniors and seniors that meet once a month to do financial literacy, to learn different things in the banking industry. And once I applied for Arvest, I did start at an entry-level position. I started as a teller and worked as a teller for a couple of years. As a teller, obviously, that's somebody that you see on the front line of the bank, processing transactions, cashing checks, making deposits, things like that. And then quickly I cross-trained in our new accounts area. At that time, it was called a deposit counselor. And a deposit counselor would open new accounts. So if you come into the bank to open a checking or a savings or order a debit card or something like that, more in-depth type transactions, I cross-trained in that area. And then shortly after, here at West Fork, I was given the opportunity to serve as our assistant branch manager. I served as the assistant branch manager and the loan assistant. So here at West Fork and in our, I guess, Western Washington County market, we may have had multiple job titles and wore many hats. So as a branch assistant branch manager and loan assistant, I wore many hats throughout the day. On the assistant manager side, of course, I still ran teller transactions, still opened new accounts, some other duties that I had as an assistant branch manager. Obviously making schedule, making sure that we had employees to cover the branch at different times of the day, and then managing those associates. The loan assistant side, my experience there, I was actually working with a lender here at our branch that was a dual purpose lender. That lender at the time, he worked with mortgage loans, commercial loans, and then also consumer loans. Did all of those. So I learned a lot about the lending side of the bank, serving as his loan assistant, and all the different types of loan products that we offer, and getting some experience there. And then in 2016, he retired, and I applied for the loan officer position at that time, and then moved into our branch lender position. Back then, it was called personal banker. But even though my job title has changed throughout the last 6 or 7 years, really I'm doing the same daily duties, which is taking applications from customers that come in and inquire, how do I get a loan? They may need a loan for a vehicle, for home equity or home improvements, things like that. And so personal banker, I had several different type customers that I would work with. And then community bank lender was my next job title. Again, doing really the same thing, working with small business customers, our consumer or personal type customer requests, the small business customers, and then a little bit of commercial customers. Currently, as a commercial banker, still doing those things, not so much on the consumer side, but more working with our commercial and agriculture type customers. So if they need a loan for real estate, maybe they're buying a rental house or something like that, then they'll come to me for those type requests. Agricultural type land, our small business owners that have an equipment need, maybe they need to purchase some equipment for their business, or maybe they need some working capital. That's the types of customers that I currently work with.
So I think that what, with Cindy and I both, we both have, some, job experience, some customer service experience, but because of either how the bank has changed, whether our job title has changed or we've just moved into a different section of the bank, we've definitely moved through career pathing. And that is something that, whenever I meet new teammates, people that come new to Arvest, I encourage them to communicate with their manager about what they like about their job. If they see a job that interests them, to talk to their manager. In my experience, that has been helpful for me, to learn new things and to keep learning, but then also to help my team. And what the goals of the company are. So, but I think we have time for questions. I'm not sure what's next.
Yeah, we do. That would be great at this time. If the individual classrooms, if you don't mind asking your kiddos if they've got questions, and you can type them in the chat box, or you're welcome to come on and ask them from your room yourself, whichever's easiest. I do have a question. I thought it was interesting that you got your degree, you said, in business administration, which would you say that's like the most common business degree? A 4-year degree that often end up in banking, or is there something, besides, you weren't sure you said to go into marketing, or is there a specific like finance and investing that are also hired and employed by banks?
There are a lot of people that have finance degrees, or accounting degrees in business. Mine was just general management, because at the time I was working at JCPenney's through college. I started there in high school. I worked there for 8 years. And by the time I was reaching the end of my college career, I had taken a role as a supervisor at JCPenney's. And so I was supervising a few people there. And, my direct manager there, just encouraged me to pursue that because she was telling me I was a good leader and things like that. And so I was pursuing that more. And so that, I think, connected me more with the management degree. When I started at the university, I did not directly declare a major my first 2 years of college. I was undeclared. And so even though I was in the business school, but in my particular position in the marketing area, because we have various positions, I'm a local marketing person. We do have a centralized marketing group, and a lot of those people that I have met, their degrees are more in communication and not finance. And so I don't know, Cindy, in the lending side, do you see other degrees there?
Yeah, I think that some of the associates, like I said, I took more of a career path and on the job training, but there are several associates that come in with a bachelor or associate's degree in accounting, marketing, maybe business administration, finance, different related type degrees that maybe they didn't know that they wanted to come to the lending side of the bank and maybe started in a different position or had a degree in something else and decided to get into lending. I know the lender that I worked under, I always found it interesting. He had a degree in bioscience or something like that. I'm not sure, but it was totally unrelated to banking at all. And here he was a lender for Arvest for, I think, 20 years.
Interesting. Okay, so we have a question. They are asking, are most of the promotions given through on-the-job training or outside college courses? So it sounds like maybe how are promotions primarily given? Yeah.
I think it is a combination of both, really. Some jobs, if you don't have a degree, that is on the job description as a requirement. But honestly, the hiring managers and through HR, they look at your years of experience. So if you have direct experience in that, they will take that into consideration. I definitely think a lot of the opportunities and promotions that I've had, even though I have a degree, was because whenever I took on a job, I did that job to the best of my ability, and I, was willing to keep training, to keep learning, and then to also, when changes come about in banking through the company as a whole, you have to go with the change and accept that change as well.
So would you say you said you started in customer service, and Cindy, you said you started as a teller too. Is that kind of the same thing? And is that the same starting salary given you had a degree and you just started out of high school, Cindy? Or is there a difference there? Because somebody's asking about the starting salary. And I know you both started in customer service, so that might be different than somebody that got immediately hired as a loan officer or something.
I think it does vary. And Cindy being an assistant manager before, she may have more insight in that. I never directly hired people in my roles. I was always just a teammate to those. But whenever I was seeking those first couple of interviews that I went to and explained that I, even though I had a degree in management, I necessarily didn't want to become an automatic manager because I had never worked in banking. However, I do think that they were able to not necessarily start me out at the starting pay back then because I had experience in customer service, not in banking. And so that they do consider that experience. So Cindy, I don't know from a manager standpoint if you have anything to add.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and just add to it a little bit. So, each of our job descriptions, and I don't know how many job descriptions there are across the bank, but several hundred, I would say. And they are graded. They have a grade assigned to them. So, if you come into the bank as a teller with absolutely no experience, then I don't know if it's okay for us to share this, Amanda, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down, but I do know that the starting pay is $15 for a starting teller. There may be other job descriptions with that same pay grade that start at that same amount. But like Amanda said, depending on past experience that you may or may not have, even though that pay grade may be assigned that same number, you may be paid a little bit more based off of your experience. And sometimes those pay grades have a range or a fluctuation, just because these job descriptions are all grade 10. It doesn't mean that all job descriptions with a grade 10 are getting that same pay. And there is incentives offered as well, incentive opportunities for the different job descriptions. You may or may not have the ability to earn incentives to increase your pay.
Okay, I think that makes sense. That's a question I get a lot from students that are interested in the banking world. Like, well, what's the average salary? How much am I going to make right out of college? And it is dependent on experience, like you said. And it is nice that they use customer service experience, also not specific banking, like in a banking as experience. We've got another question. What are the most common job qualities or traits is Arvest looking for in new employees? Being on time, 3 years of experience, etc. I know that sometimes my kids think that, oh, banking, that you got to be good with numbers, but you had mentioned communications is also very important. But what are some other common, I guess, traits that you would look for in a bank employee?
Yeah, I definitely think, work ethic, being a team player, being on time, being punctual. I think customer service is in almost every job, whether you're front line or a back office position. We do have positions in the bank that are IT related. We have to have our teammates that, when we have computer or technology issues, know how to fix those. We do have teammates that are on our maintenance team that, know about electricity, know about plumbing. We have those teammates that have all of those. And so I think just, being a team player, willing to learn and accept change. I think those are all, positive qualities and for any position that you want to. Arvest culture, we get out in our communities and volunteer. And so if that is something that you're passionate about, that is something that, almost every teammate that, to be successful, they get out and they get involved because that is what we do as a group. And so, and also a lot of times just, bank wide, because Cindy and I, we both work in the Washington County region. And we have Arvest in 4 states. And so bank wide, that is something that we all have in common is volunteering and giving back. And then our mission statement is helping people find financial solutions for life. So no matter what position you're in, like ultimately that's the goal. We're helping people with their finances, but it takes everyone doing their part. So,
And as far as other soft skills, like tech skills that are required, is it really just specific to whatever position they're applying for, or do they need to be proficient in specific programs or technology?
There again, there are on the job descriptions, there are some that have certain requirements. There are a lot though that, we've had people that have been, as a teller or in the branch. And honestly, they just know a lot about computers and how they work. And so, there are in-house trainings that are offered for your specific job. And so if they want you to learn something specific, and you're willing to learn that, that's how a lot of people are promoted. Not necessarily it's because they already know everything, or they already have all the degrees that they need, because honestly, it's just hard for one person to get all of that. But if you're willing to train, and be available for that, you can almost get that training in-house. We do have a lot of training that goes on here at Arvest. We have a training department, so we need those people that are essentially like teachers to, host classes. We have basically a teller school. So anybody that's going to be a teller, they have to go to like a week-long class, and they learn, what program they're going to use, how to generally use that. There's classes specifically for lenders, for people like in Cindy's job, that they go and learn extra things. And so I don't know, Cindy, if you have any extra there.
Yeah, so as a lender, not only do we have just the basics of lending classes, but they go a little bit further for training, how to build those relationships with your customers, with your clients. One of my duties is to go out and call on customers, to sit down and visit with them in their businesses, and just discuss their day-to-day functions, maybe not necessarily the money side of their business, but things that help them operate their business more efficiently. So we have different, what we call CFB trainings, to learn how to better talk through those conversations with the customers, to see what products may best fit their needs, whether it be our treasury management services, maybe purchasing cards. For example, if you have an HVAC company that has several service trucks, and they have employees in each one of those trucks, then those purchasing card programs, we talk through those and find the need for that customer. They may need those cards for buying fuel or parts for that service tech to go out and do those service calls, so that the company owner is not having to basically follow that employee around to make those purchases. They give them tools so that they can do their job efficiently and quickly. And so we have those extra trainings to go out and visit with those customers.
Okay. Switching gears just a little bit, we've got a question for wanting some advice about that you would give a student who is interested in starting a small business.
I guess I'll take that one. It's interested in starting a small business. I would come up with a business plan, of course. And there are some, there's some help out there, like the University of Arkansas has a Small Business and Technology Development Center. That is a great resource that I normally will point people in that direction, because they can go over all of the ins and outs, the different business types that there are. I mean, if you're going to operate as a sole proprietor or limited liability and LLC, what we call. So there's all kinds of different business types to begin with. So they can sit down and discuss those with you, or even a CPA can, to first determine what type of business you're looking at, and then help you to develop that business plan, and then see what kind of equipment or working capital that you have available or may need to get to start your business.
Last part, right, Solomon.
Did that answer your student's question, Ms. Sharp? I know sometimes we have our Chamber of Commerce here in Gravette also they've reached out to our school, and they've got a lot of resources too that helping students or just helping anyone in general, like you said, develop a business plan, see what the steps are to get your own business started. So sometimes within your own community. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Two. That wasn't Ms. Sharp. Yeah. I'm sorry. Does anybody have any other questions?
So Jill, you were speaking a second ago and we could hear you. I misunderstood possibly. Were you trying to share?
No, I wasn't. I was just asking if the question was answered as far as they had any other questions about
Got it.
starting a business.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. I don't see any other questions. We sure appreciate both of your time this morning. I know sometimes kids are sometimes just overwhelmed with, all the information, but it was interesting to hear like all the different types of opportunities there are. We do have some students I know within our own high school that work during high school, on Saturday mornings and after school, like as a teller, or just start that way into the banks. And I'm sure once they get in there, they see the different options. Does Arvest offer any type of internship while in college? Or, I mean, like I just mentioned, I know that they offer jobs while you're in school, but do they offer internships? Probably they mean in college.
We do.
Yeah.
We have an internship program. And I believe currently you have to have 120 hours of college credit to apply. They have those students that work on different projects, and then they do get to job shadow or sit with different groups during their internship, and then they work on projects. This past summer, a lot of those I think are through the summer, the majority of them, but we do have some throughout the whole year. But this summer we had one here in Fayetteville that did job shadow kind of our marketing department here a little bit, and he helped us with a few projects. But his main project was just, he was just like different job titles, we have different interns. And so there are some regions that have specifically a marketing intern. The intern that was here locally, he, in my local region, he was a finance intern. And so he was more interested in learning a lot more about the investment side of the bank. And so, but yes, there are lots of interns that they and those are listed on the arvest.com/careers. with the internship specifically in the job title.
Okay, yes, and those are specific to college students then. And typically they aren't necessarily paid as internships, right? They just are able to earn like a college credit while observing. But you do do you offer job shadowing to high school students then? We sometimes will do like just a half a day or a day that they can sometimes come and job shadow somebody at the bank.
Some positions we do have available. As those come up, our HR department looks at those.
Mhm.
And so because of different restrictions that have changed throughout the years, we just have to ask each time. So,
And as far as your, I know you do offer scholarships, right, within the communities. Do those go specifically to students that are interested in banking and business? Or are they available to anybody within the community?
not always. We do have, because we have different regions, so like in Gravette, those like Cindy and I, our region does not request those funds for the Gravette area. And so those are requested by each region. So in the Southern Washington County, we do have currently 4 school districts that we request scholarship money for. One of those scholarships is just more of a generic, anyone graduating can apply for. But as Cindy mentioned, we also have our junior bank board program, and that was something she was a part of when she was in high school. But Cindy and I both are sponsors for different groups for our junior bank board program. And so we do have a separate scholarship that we also request funds for each year. And those are specifically for someone that has been in our junior bank board program. So it varies throughout the 4-state footprint on the scholarships. And typically we request those funds not through our local marketing budget, but through our Arvest Foundation. And so those have to be requested, and those are not guaranteed each year. So, and then I see a question more specifically about the junior bank board program. Cindy, you want to chime in here and talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. So our junior bank board program, like I said earlier, it's designated for students that are juniors or seniors. In our market, our junior bank board group is limited to 15 students. We meet once a month during the school year, and we have a financial literacy lesson. For example, this morning, I met with my junior bank board kids here in West Fork, and we did a lesson on checking and savings accounts, just to kind of get the year kicked off, and did a quick lesson in writing a check. And then we'll go a little bit deeper into the lesson during our next meeting and do a sample check register for transactions that they've used. Maybe they've used their debit card or written a check. We're going to practice on keeping a register, and then go over a sample statement and teach them how to reconcile their bank statement to their checkbook register. We also will have a financial literacy lesson on loans, credit cards, how to build your credit, identity theft, different aspects of the financial industry. We will also take a trip to the Federal Reserve Bank. We work hard throughout the year to raise funds to pay for the trip. And we normally either go to Kansas City or the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank and teach them that side of the banking industry and what happens with the Federal Reserve banking system. And then if we get to go to Dallas, normally we will tour the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, which is where the bills are made and put into currency.
And I know we have had it here in years past at Gravit for several years. When COVID happened, it kind of halted it, and we haven't had it since COVID here in our building. But I don't know if that had to do, like you said, with restrictions changing. And yeah, so we would just have to check with our administrators, see who's the sponsor and if it's held within your school, I guess, basically.
Yes, usually the branch closest to you, if it was, I don't know about Gravit, but if it was hosted by Arvest, if it was an Arvest Junior Bank Board, then I would just maybe have the administration reach out to the local branch to inquire about if there's interest getting it started back up. Because now that restrictions have been lifted, we are holding those meetings back in person. I know here in our market, we did keep Junior Bank Board going, but we did them via Zoom lessons, which sometimes was a bit of a challenge, but we did continue to provide those financial literacy lessons through Zoom. And now we're back to in-person meetings.
Sounds good. I think we've exhausted all of our questions.
I think I see one about what advice for making career choices.
Oh, yeah, there's one.
I would say just to keep an open mind and don't be afraid to try new things, because there are things that maybe my manager asked me to tackle this project or give this a try, and so I did, not knowing very much about it, but I learned. And then, I found out it was something maybe I was good at, or maybe I found out it was something I definitely did not want to do again. But either way, I would just say to keep an open mind and be willing to try new things, because, you don't know. So, Cindy, any words of wisdom on making choices?
Yeah, I think you covered it.
I would say when career pathing too, like, just because, to ask, your teammates that have different jobs, maybe what they like to do, like, what they like about their job, and just networking a little bit with your teammates. I do that a lot when I go to meetings, because like I mentioned, I'm in local marketing. And so whenever I go to peer meetings, there are people with my job title that, are a marketing specialist in Tulsa or Oklahoma. And those are different areas, different states. They have, some of those regions have more branches than we do here. And so, just how do they balance their workload? So it's learning from each other and then networking. And so you can find out more about other people's jobs just by being curious and asking them questions about it. So.
And I will add to that, if you start at, say, an entry-level teller position or customer service position like Amanda did, Arvest, they do offer the mentor programs, as well as the internships, and different trainee programs. So if you do the career pathing with our human resources associates, then they can help you get in one of those mentor or banker trainee programs, to where you can, as an employee, if you're a teller, then you can go and job shadow those other different associates, maybe a lender or somebody in marketing, to see if that's a career path that you want to take.
Okay, well, I think we will go ahead and wrap it up. I don't see anything else popping up. I don't think I missed anything, but yes, thank you both so much for your time. We sure appreciate it. Lots of information, and I hope the kids figured out maybe the different avenues they can take with banking. And thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Mhm.